Today, we'll look at a shallow depth of field in order to isolate the characters' faces. So here's my terrible storyboard of them lying in the back of the truck. It's a shot looking straight down so you can see into the bed of the truck, and it just shows about how much I want to show of them. This is not actually how this exact shot was lined up. This is more the second shot that we're going to look at, but let's go to the next shot in the sequence, which would be the shooting stars. We're not going to cover that here. We will cover that tomorrow. And then I left a blank one for them looking at the meteors. You can see I have a note to get the depth of field down, so it's just their faces that are in focus and not their fingers when they point to the meteor shower. Let's take a look at the shots. So we've already seen the establishing shot of the truck in the field. You'll notice here this grass to the left and the right is way flatter than the tall grass in the field. Hopefully people don't notice. Just a slight zoom in and they shift a little bit looking at the stars. Then we see the meteors. We'll cover this tomorrow. And then back to them, and you'll notice that their fingers are out of focus as they point. And we continue on, and they look at each other. And that is it for this shot. Let's look at the Blender file. So here we are in the Blender file. As we look over here, you'll notice I just did a small plane in order to add this portion of the field. There wasn't any need to add a giant field around them. There is just an area light, which is a little bit on the blue side to make it feel like nighttime. I added this blanket underneath them when I first placed them in the back of the truck. I didn't have a blanket and it didn't feel right, so I learned how to make a blanket, followed a tutorial on plaid, and then sculpted it in Blender after I dropped it in. And as we scroll along here, you'll see they just sort of shift a little bit. It's just a slight zoom in. And that is it for this shot. Let's move on to the next shot. So, as I mentioned, we're going to skip over the meteor shower shot. We're coming back to the shot after that where they are pointing at the meteors. I wound up adding another camera. This is the first camera that we used. Now I've added the shot for this close-up right here, which gets my depth of field a little bit tighter. It's a little bit longer lens, so we're closer on them. If you look up here, you can see the truck is out of focus, even though it's not in the shot. Our shot is right down here, just close on them. As we scroll along, you can see their hands come up, and their hands are never in focus when they're pointing, because it's all about them and their faces. And I really wanted to isolate them as they were looking at the meteor shower. And then their hands come back down, and they look at each other, and they're smiling. So a little nice moment here where it's just them in the back of the truck, a nice close-up, and they're pointing. So a little shifting of their bodies as they look up to make them not look so robotic. I did do reference for this. Again, my animation skills are not fantastic, but hopefully you're getting the idea that they're having a nice time looking at the meteors. The one thing, as I look back on this shot, as they're shifting, I probably could have animated the blanket a little bit, just made it shift as they shifted to make it look a little bit more realistic. But at the time, I did not think of it, and one of those things that you put in the back of your mind for your next project. All right, that's it for these shots. Tomorrow, a smoke and fire simulation to make meteors. I'll see you then.